Welcome to the history of money. Once again, we will take you back into the depths of history and attempt to explain the story of money by connecting its direction with the modern world. In summary, in this story, we will examine the visionary ideas of Imam Al-Ghazali, one of the most important thinkers of the Islamic Golden Age, who addressed the inseparable connection between economics and morality. Al-Ghazali defines money not as an end in itself, but as a tool of exchange that enables social cooperation and as a reflection similar to a mirror. This text emphasizes that hoarding wealth freezes economic circulation and that speculative gains undermine social trust, paving the way for collapse. It also highlights Al-Ghazali's warnings, remarkably aligned with modern financial crises, where he viewed the debasement of currency by rulers as a form of theft and injustice. According to the source, Al-Ghazali revealed 1,000 years ago that the success of markets depends not on technical formulas, but on honesty, trust, and a moral compass. In short, the work argues that financial systems inevitably decay from within when they become detached from human and ethical values. Thank you for listening this far. Now, let's move on to the video. When we wonder about the origins of economic thought, our minds usually turn to Adam Smith, Karl Marx, or Aristotle, whom we remember from our school years. Yet deep within the medieval world lies a far more striking truth, one that Western history rarely mentions. Nearly 1,000 years ago, long before concepts like capitalism or central banks even existed, a Muslim scholar issued a vital warning that still echoes in every financial crisis we experience today. When money loses its moral compass, societies begin to decay from within. When we look at the world we live in, we can see that this thinker actually analyzed us far better than we assume. In the financial history, where money, power, and history intersect, nothing is ever as simple as it appears. To understand Al-Ghazali, one of the most influential minds of the Islamic Golden Age, we must travel back to the 11th century, a world that seems both familiar and strangely foreign. At the time, while Europe was struggling with poverty amid the ruins of the early Middle Ages, the Islamic world was experiencing its grandeur across a vast geography stretching from Andalusia to the Persian lands. 3 cities like Baghdad, Damascus, and Cairo were the financial and intellectual power centers of that era. Trade routes were overflowing with caravans, carrying silk, spices, and precious metals, while scholars competed in ideas across fields ranging from philosophy to astronomy. However, this dizzying wealth was transforming society at a pace no one fully understood. It was in this atmosphere, where trade was booming but inequality was rising at the same rate, that a sage named Abu Hamid al-Ghazali emerged. He was both a jurist, a philosopher, and one of the system's most courageous critics. Al-Ghazali was a thinker capable of explaining both the purpose of the soul and the workings of the monetary system with equal depth. Born in 1058 and rapidly climbing the ranks to reach the most prestigious teaching positions of his time, what made him unique was not the status he achieved, but his refusal to accept the existing order. He saw a society where wealth was growing but spirituality was declining, obsessed with money yet drifting away from meaning. This economic picture, shining on the outside but decaying from within, bears striking similarities to the modern world. He asked the famous question that few dared to ask: what happens when a civilization becomes wealthy before it becomes wise? In seeking to answer this, he argued that money is not merely a technical instrument, but also a moral and systemic concept. While Aristotle viewed money as a practical invention, and modern economists treat it as a mathematical variable, Al-Ghazali examined its psychological and spiritual effects on society. He studied how money shapes behavior, trust, and ultimately the destiny of nations. According to Al-Ghazali, money is neither an idol to be worshipped nor a status symbol. It is merely a tool, a facilitator of exchange. He compared money to a mirror. A mirror has no value in itself. Its worth comes from what it reflects. Likewise, the power of money does not lie in gold or silver themselves, but in their ability to enable people to build and cooperate. In the 11th century, when many Europeans still saw wealth solely as land, Al-Ghazali shared one of his most important insights. Hoarded money is dead money. Wealth locked away in chests or buried underground, in his view, was not only useless but socially destructive. Idle wealth does not circulate. It freezes the economic bloodstream, leaving trade and labor unfed. When the wealthy hoard money, artificial scarcity emerges, prices distort, and markets collapse. At this point, Al-Ghazali also declared war on speculation. He had no patience for merchants who manipulated prices and saw crises as opportunities for profit. He regarded speculative behavior not as a clever strategy, but as a form of moral corruption. In his view, profit gained without contributing value meant feeding off the suffering of others, and this corruption would spread throughout society like a contagious disease. This was, centuries in advance, a commentary on modern financial bubbles and crisis opportunism. Yet Al-Ghazali was not opposed to profit or trade. He believed in honest commerce and the necessity of markets. His true target was dishonest trade conducted through deception, lies, and false measures. He knew that an economy could only function on trust, and when trust collapses, the system follows. What modern economists today call information asymmetry, he described centuries earlier without technical terminology. Arguing that labor is inherently honorable, Al-Ghazali emphasized that wealth gained through manipulation corrupts character. He criticized not only individuals but also state intervention in currency. He described the hidden inflation created by medieval rulers who debased coinage as theft because it eroded trust in the market and punished the poor the most. The duty of the state was not to manipulate the economy for short-term gain, but to uphold justice. According to Al-Ghazali, unjust rulers destroy prosperity faster than external enemies. A society can overcome poverty, but it cannot overcome corruption. The true cause of economic collapse is not the lack of resources, but the dissolution of that invisible glue holding everything together: trust. Money is ultimately a belief system. When people lose faith in honesty, the system ceases to function and fear and greed take over. Ultimately, you cannot improve an economy without correcting the incentives that shape human behavior. When wealth becomes detached from social responsibility and purpose, it turns into a threat to the common good. A selfish society is doomed to collapse under its own weight, and even the wealthy who consider themselves immune cannot escape this downfall. In today's modern world, where money moves faster than meaning, inequality has peaked and trust declines year by year. Al-Ghazali's warnings are more relevant than ever. Economies do not collapse simply because the numbers fail to add up. They collapse because justice is lost. People stop trusting one another and harmful behaviors are rewarded. The greatest lesson Al-Ghazali teaches us is this: money is not a mechanical object, but a moral ecosystem. Once this framework breaks down, it becomes impossible for the financial system to survive. Understanding this truth is the greatest financial protection against being crushed by history. Thank you for watching us this far. For the continuation of videos like this and to help our channel grow, we kindly ask you to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let's talk and discuss together in the comments. Remember our slogan once again: because history speaks, those who listen win. Don't forget to follow to be among the winners. Goodbye.